I really do. I really hope you had a nice weekend. I hope you saw the Super Bowl yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed the game. The game wasn't great. I hope you appreciated Bad Bunny's performance. We'll talk about that today. Um, if you didn't, love the performance, if you're not a fan of Bad Bunny's, hope you appreciated the message. A few things we're going to go over today. We're just waiting to get started for a minute here, but a few things we're going to go over. One, we're going to check on Ghislaine Maxwell at this time, unless it's over, is testifying behind closed doors from prison for Jim Comer's House Oversight Committee. It'll be interesting to hear there's been plenty of reporting suggesting that all she's going to talk about is she can take the Fifth Amendment, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll hear what members of Congress say afterwards. I'm sure the Republicans will say something, and Democrats will say something else. But we'll kind of cover where things stand. We'll go over DHS funding, where that stands as of now, and I'll talk a little bit more about Epstien as well. I'm going to talk about where I'm sort of conflicted in the amount of time I have available. I want to kind of get into that with you. And just looking at my notes here. And we're going to talk about Democrats winning another election. But let me take a moment and bring up the live feed so I can see who's here. And let me get my microphone settled over here and the trash that I left on my office table here out of the way. And then we should be good to go. It looks like there's a couple of you here, but I can't. Substack does have some kind of weirdness. Some kind of weirdness that Substack does where if I come in a little too late, I can see there's 6 of us here, but I can't see all of you yet. But I will. Eventually it'll pop up and I'll be able to see who's here. I'm work this out. And I'll figure out how to use this eventually. So where do we start? Well, why don't we start here? This is The Guardian. This is some reporting from The Guardian today. Let me just kind of bring up the reporting. So The Guardian reported Trump claims Bad Bunny's historic Super Bowl show, watched by millions, was an affront to American greatness. Was it an affront to American greatness? The idiot posted, and I'm sure it wasn't the idiot himself, the village idiot, posting this, because it was, I wonder if it wasn't illegible. I mean, it was legible. It was coherent, legible post. It was nonsensical, but it was legible. It was not completely unreadable. So, but just to kind of read this to you. Good morning, and welcome to our live coverage of U.S. politics. Donald Trump has said Bad Bunny's historic Super Bowl halftime show performance celebrating Latino heritage and culture was, quote, absolutely terrible. Hey, Beth, how are you? And I know there's a few more of you here. I just, for some reason, can't see your names yet. I just saw Beth come up. So my apologies for not saying hello to those of you who are here, but I can't see yet. Good morning and welcome to our live coverage of U.S. politics. Donald Trump has said Bad Bunny's historic Super Bowl halftime show performance celebrating Latino heritage and culture was absolutely terrible and an affront to American greatness. The Puerto Rican musician made history by becoming the first Super Bowl halftime show headliner to perform nearly entirely in Spanish and to host a wedding during the show, which included appearances from Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin. So the village idiot I'm not going to do the whole thing in my Trump voice, but we'll do some of it. The Super Bowl halftime show was absolutely terrible. One of the worst ever. It made no sense. It is an affront to the greatness of America. Doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Now, hey, Lacey. Now, you think he wrote that? Can you imagine the village idiot coming up with an actual sentence that coherent, doesn't represent our standards of success, greatness, or excellence? Nobody understands a word this guy is saying. I mean, people who spoke Spanish do, right? But they're not really people. They're not citizens. Sorry, guys, I still have a little cough. I mean, I'm over my thing, but I still have a little postnasal drip and cough and snottiness. But anyway, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the U.S. and all over the world. Now that's rich, right? That part is really, and you're absolutely right, Catherine. And hello, Catherine. I didn't see you earlier because I couldn't see the first people that joined the live, but you couldn't be more correct. You know who doesn't understand standards of success, greatness, and etc. Or when he talks about the fact that the dancing was disgusting, right? Now, why could the village idiot Donald Trump have considered the dancing be disgusting? Well, you know, and inappropriate for young children. Well, we know from the Epstein files that Donald doesn't like women of color. That was in, a email to when I think it was the email where Epstein was going to spend the weekend. I might have these mixed up, so feel free to fact check me or correct me on this. But I've seen so much reporting for so many different Epstein files. But I think it was for the weekend or the week where Epstein was going to spend Christmas with the Trump boys and whoever he was speaking to in that email, because the name was redacted. They were told not to bring any black girls because Donald doesn't like black girls. Just bring the white ones, the white children, right? Not the black girls. He doesn't like them. So that would make sense that, Donald Trump would find the dancing, right, of the women of color who were grown-ups, who were adults, unacceptable and disgusting because they didn't like that, right? I mean, the implication is that it was just inappropriate. It wasn't Christian. It wasn't the appropriate type of dancing for America. That wasn't appropriate. But my interpretation of it, because the hypocritical comedy of it is you have a pedophile who we have enough circumstantial evidence from all of the Epstein files and Trump's many mentions in it and direct words from Jeffrey Epstein about Trump spending hours with at least one young girl, and then seeing all of these horrific videos of these adult men abusing these children, that, Donald's preference isn't adult women of color. His preference, at least back then, was when it came to partying with Jeffrey, was young girls, potentially underage, who were white. So, of course, he's not going to like adult women dancing in any sort of adult women of color dancing in any sexualized manner. I mean, that doesn't get him exciting. And you're right, Catherine. Young men, are you listening to me? I said young men. I'm talking to the young men. Donald, that's a gay song, right? What do you mean it's a gay song? It's a gay song. It's about the village people were very pro-gay at a time when it was very difficult to be pro-gay. And that song was like, YMCA was about, the gay community and gay culture. Yeah, I'm not a gay, but the gays love me. They voted for me so much. I got 119% of all the gays voting for me. They love me. The fuck. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Anyway, I digress, my friends. Let me take a sip of water because I still have a little postnasal drip that I'm contending with, but nothing bad. We're over the worst of it. And I'm done with colds. I'm done with it all. I actually think this last one might have been the flu. I didn't want to admit it when I had it, but I think it might have been the flu. Because my son and I both had one day. We each had one day of body aches. And thankfully, it was only one day. I think it was the shot, RFK. Just saying. We did get our fucking flu shots. I think it worked. Because I think we might have had the flu. But I don't know. Who's counting? Anyway, irrespective. Good morning. Getting ready for school, so listening in to get my day going. Thank you, Gamer Vet Dad. I appreciate you being here. I know Monday's your in-school day. So So let me get back to the idiot. Nobody understood. I read that one. This show is just a slap in the face to a country which is setting new standards and records every single day, including the best stock market and 401ks in history. Never happened. There's nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show. And watch, it will get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue of what's going on in the real world. It's hardly surprising that Trump did not like Bad Bunny's show. The 31-year-old, born Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, has been a vocal critic of ICE and Trump and his administration's authoritarian immigration policies. In January, Trump criticized the selection. It's absolutely ridiculous, while also claiming he was unfamiliar with the artist at the time. Trump said of Bad Bunny and punk rock band Green Day, who also performed, "I'm anti them. I don't like them. I'm anti them. I think it's a terrible choice. All it does is sow hatred. Terrible. He's the one saying it sows hatred. Fucking idiot." Sunday's performance came after a week of Bad Bunny's Debris Triar Mas Fotos. Became the first Spanish language album to win the Grammy for Album of the Year, building more anticipation for his Super Bowl show. Still one of the staples of the American cultural calendar, and I don't need to read the rest of it. So, the imbecile didn't like the halftime show. But I wonder if he was more upset about the halftime show itself because he couldn't have comprehended the messages. He couldn't move. He can't really do that well with his native language, English, in terms of expressing it or understanding it anymore. So it would be a stretch for him to try to comprehend messages when people are not speaking a language that he can understand, even though the messages were quite clear and obvious. Also, it was a direct, fuck you to, to his behavior, to his bigotry, racism, hatred. And it was also predominantly a message of love, right? Of community, of not just integration domestically, but globally, of the Americas, right? So that's not anything that he could have possibly accepted or tolerated or gone for, because it was a direct affront to him, and it was happening during the Super Bowl, of which nobody wanted him there. And it was also, in some ways, the NFL's excuse, their reason for, opting to choose Bad Bunny is they said it was strictly a business decision. It wasn't a political one, right? They wanted the NFL said that it wanted to appeal to a much larger audience and an international audience. And because Bad Bunny is a global sensation, that was appealing to them. But I think also the Village Idiot, I wonder if he was also as upset about the Kid Rock concert that just never really happened, right? There was within shortly before kickoff, like this was the the Turning Point USA concert, right? It was the counter concert, right? And it was supposed to be led up by Kid by 305 All Day. That's what you're talking about. Did you see a clip? I didn't see any clips of that. I didn't watch it at all, and I haven't had a chance to look at the clips yet. I didn't even know but you didn't even know if in the beginning it was going to happen. I was sort of focused on the game. It wasn't that great a game anyway, but But there were reports early on, or, shortly before kickoff, of like licensing issues. Like they're so they're so they're so entitled, right? And corrupted, that it's like they didn't even bother to get the appropriate licensing, I guess, for some of the music there. This is what I think would happen for some of the music that they were streaming or performing. And there were a couple of streaming services that were like, no, we're not going to stream this thing, because it's illegal. So already there was a question, right in the beginning, before the game even started, of whether or not the TP USA stupidity was going to happen, or whether Kid Rock, and his whoever else performed with him. I don't know who else was with him, but if they were even going to be able to do the show. So I didn't see clips of the show. They just heard the word kid and they got all excited. Exactly. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, but there's leftover. But yeah, so I didn't see it, but it was and I haven't looked at any of the clips because there's been so much other news that I wanted to cover today and things I wanted to take a look at, that I didn't. And it's almost laughable that they even bothered, right? They can't do anything. So he lip synced poorly. Is that what happened, Catherine? Now I may need to pull it up. And let me see. Let me just see if I can find it. I shouldn't be hyper focused on this, guys, because we had we have other stuff to cover. Let me see. Is this it?
If you're an illegal alien, this runway is your future, because you're headed home. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security.
Hang on. Let me show you the. Let me bring this up for you guys. Let me show you the. Hang on. I'm going to show you the Google ad scroll that comes in before. This is gonna. Oh, that's my guest post. Hang on. Hang on. Let me just bring it up here. Hang on, guys. Just bear with me for a minute. I'm gonna bring this up. So here, let me clean up the window for you guys so you can actually see it. Just bear with me. This is the ad before the show. I just have to clean these windows up so you can see things. Okay, let's hang on, I accidentally make two of these. Sorry about that. Let me just delete one of them. Here we go. This should work. All right, let me make sure the system audio is on. Okay, so let me see if I can get Kristi going again.
The CBP Home app and you safely self-deport, you will receive financial assistance, a free flight.
This is the ad.
And the chance to come back to America legally. If you don't, you will be caught, fined, detained, and forcefully removed. Under President Trump's strong leadership,
this is the advertisement for
and our border is secure.
All right, I'll skip this ad.
Turning Point USA's much-touted alternate Super Bowl halftime show has been branded a major flop, pulling in reportedly just a fraction of the audience that tuned in for Bad Bunny's official NFL performance. The conservative organization's All-American halftime show aired online just minutes before the Super Bowl halftime spectacle, and critics are convinced it failed to resonate beyond its core base, reports the Mirror US. On Sunday, February 8th, Turning Point USA, the right-wing political group founded by late conservative activist and MAGA influencer Charlie Kirk, staged its own halftime show in protest of...
Hang on, let me just move up. Let me see if they show any of it. Nope. We sat through that. I made you sit through that commercial. I made you sit through that commercial for no reason. Hang on. Here we go.
And you can keep putting on forever with that girl whose heart you hold. Swearing that your ass someday further down the road.
You know what the comedy of this is that although I don't speak Spanish, and I couldn't understand exactly what anything that in terms of the language, although I understood the message that Bad Bunny was saying, I do speak English. I don't understand what the fuck he's saying.
If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream,
That's the Cody Johnson. That's got a clean path.
chase your badge. If you're gonna love somebody, hold on as long and as strong and as close as you can. But take
A
care,
little louder so you can really kind of take it in.
take care. There's a box of greasy parts sitting in the trunk of that 65.
Does he have Trump makeup on?
Still waiting on you and
Looks like
your
he's got
grandpa
Donald's makeup on.
to bring it back to life. You can always get around to fixing up that old Pontiac till you can't take care. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream,
All right. I think that's about all I can do. I think we just got to move on from that. That was hang on, let me just bring back wrong one. Let me just bring back what we were watching. That was just a bit too much for me. Okay. So I just did a post on TikTok and Instagram. I don't know if you guys about this. Elmo even commented on this. Elmo on Elmo's Instagram, he said that he loved Bad Bunny. He loved that guy who did that, and we should call him Good Bunny instead of Bad Bunny. So even Elmo has waited on this. Guys, politics is everywhere at this point, and it's a weird moment, right? It's a weird moment we're in when Elmo is weighing in on politics, but there's nobody that isn't affected, right? There's nobody that isn't touched. There's nobody that isn't hurt. PBS was defunded. Elmo is now on Netflix. Sesame Street's on Netflix because the public broadcasting system was going to, they went out of business. I think was it PBC or PBS? I don't know how and so there's no, and I think that's why, Bad Bunny's message resonated with so many of us. Look, I'm not that into music anymore. I never really was that into music. I like music. I love music, but I don't listen to music every day. I used to play music. I used to be a singer, believe it or not, at a certain point in my life. I used to like to produce music, create music, but I didn't like to, I'm not a big listener of music. And I'm not like a big pop culture guy, right? I am curious about what's going on in the world. And I'm also realizing that, for the sake of the type of content I'm putting out, I need to diversify a little bit and be a little pop culture conscious. So, I don't know like what's going on in the world of music, and I don't know much about Bad Bunny other than his political activism, because that's what really interests me. But because like if it weren't for politics, I wouldn't know anything about Bad Bunny again, because I'm not dialed into music. And but but the message was so distinct, you know, and it was it was so it was so necessary to have a moment where you could have an entire halftime show, like in Spanish, celebrating Puerto Rican culture, right? And celebrating community across the board beyond Latino culture, right? All of us, right? But there, I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this. This would have been this would have felt like the least likely moment in modern American history that could have happened, right? With the ICE Gestapo. I keep getting a tickle in my throat from the post-nasal drip. So hopefully that won't interfere with the rest of the live. But when you have the ICE Gestapo, right, terrorizing communities, and we're fighting to save ourselves from idiotic authoritarianism, right? And we're being crushed. And so much of corporate America, from Amazon to Google to Facebook to the Washington Post to, finance, the kings of finance, right? To leaders from other countries, our allies. So much of them, up until recently, surrendering, giving in to this idiotic authoritarianism that we're facing up to here in the US, right? When you're in that moment, it seemed like the most unlikely moment when you could have, what's bigger and more corporate than the National Football League, right? You know what I mean? What's a bigger generator of revenue than the NFL, right? And the NFL hasn't been great when it comes to issues like race. And it hasn't been great when it's come to issues like domestic violence, right? It's tried, but it's always failed, and then try to find a way to do the right thing, right? I just wouldn't have thought that the NFL, in the biggest game, the biggest sporting event in America every year that draws everyone in, would have been, I don't know if their intention was to stand up and make a statement, or if their intention was really just they needed an international superstar to be to represent them, because they're, this year, because they're planning to take the NFL international. They're planning to expand its viewership, to make it more appealing, to make money. So I don't know, or if their motivation was both. I don't know. But the fact that happened, in this moment, is really important, because in terms of corporate America standing up and telling Donald Trump to go fuck himself, that was that. In terms of corporate America standing up and telling MAGA, I don't give a fuck what you think. This is here. I don't know if you guys follow God on here on TikTok. Not TikTok, on Substack. God is it's a great account where the guy is like, he's God and he's Jesus, and he's you should follow him. He's pro-democracy, very funny. But he wrote a piece today here on Substack where he talked about racist heads exploding, right, all over. He writes it as if he's God, right? It's very funny. And the piece I should have had it ready for today. Racist heads exploding all over the United States today, as the entire Super Bowl show is in Spanish, and then he does this whole piece about racist heads exploding, and it was a funny piece, but it really was that. It really was and we were watching it yesterday with my wife, and our friends were over. We had two friends, and our son was with us. And I had made that point, because we were sort of talking about like, because again, none of us are that into pop culture. So we were just, we were talking about the message, and then we were kind of talking about, it was the first time I've ever seen Bad Bunny perform. And, did we really like him as a performer? No, that didn't really matter, right? I mean, who gives a shit what we like? The whole world loves him as a performer, right? And but we were having all that conversation, and one of the things that kept coming back to me, besides the message of unity and solidarity, and this the fuck you to ICE and Trump, was the larger thing, which was the NFL and Bad Bunny and much of America saying "fuck you" to the whole MAGA way of thinking, and they're pretty mad, right? They're pretty mad about it right now, and good. Let them be mad about it. They should be. That's the least of what they should feel at this point. Anyway. That's so what do you guys have to say? Lots of Italian crooners, as old Italian crooners as well. Gamer Vet Dad. Njiri, my dad played Julio Iglesias on repeat. No clue what he was saying. Catherine, it would not let me send you the clip on TikTok, but send on Facebook if you want to watch later. I will check it out. Thank you. I'll definitely check it out. Maybe I'll play it tomorrow. Njiri, since I was a kid, I listened to music in multiple languages, made up my vocabulary too, LOL. It's not as serious as they make it out to be. It's not. It's honestly no big. I did the same thing, Njiri. I went to religious school, Hebrew school, for 5-6 years as a kid. I hated every minute of it. I refused to learn Hebrew, even though they kept trying to. I sang and I learned all the prayers. I used to sing them all the time. I got to a point, there was one point in my life where I was thinking of becoming a cantor, which is the guy who sings in the synagogue. This is another weird moment in my life. And I actually started going to school, cantorial school. And I was seriously contemplating a career in singing songs that I didn't understand. And even when there was a point where I was really serious about being a performer. And I had voice lessons for years. And when I would learn like Italian, art songs and opera songs and French and German, I would sing in those languages, and I never knew what any of it meant. And again, who cares? You know what? Who cares? Donald Trump cares. That's. Well, Jules, I agree with you. Sadly, they're too. MAGA is too stupid, and they're too hateful. They're too self-loathing. What would happen if there was suddenly an acceptance, within, I really think, and my wife argues with me a lot, that it can't be, that it's not this simple, and you can't just apply one, it's stereotyping when I apply one type of thinking to an entire group. But I really think the racism, the bigotry, and the hatred that drives, that goes through the spirit of MAGA is self-victimization that comes from self-loathing. It's just a way to blame other people for your own failures. And it's a way, because they hate themselves so much. I really think it's that simple across the board. I think that's the foundational principle of driving force of racism is blaming, instead of, because as humans, those of us that grow in cultures where we're not held accountable, and we're almost taught not to be accountable, if you can blame your shortcomings on someone else, on somebody else, then you don't have to fix them. You don't have to put in the hard work to get better yourself. And if you can just get rid of those other people, which is almost impossible to do, right? Then you never have to take responsibility. And you hate on these people and you oppress these people. You do whatever they can because it's their fault. And I truly, truly believe that that's what drives that community. Lacey, MAGA wants to control us, everything about us. And I think that's the extension of it, Lacey, where I think we're now in this I think what was self-victimization and self-loathing, we're now in hyper self-victimization and self-loathing. Because if you can get to the point where not only can you, repress another group of people and say it's their fault that you didn't succeed, now you repress them. But now the problem is once you repress them, you can't really blame them anymore, right? Once we throw all the brown people out, then it can't be that, and they're not taking our jobs anymore, right? Then we can't blame them anymore for our problems. And then we have our problems again. But like Lacey's saying here, if you're able to control the government and you pass laws and to control everybody else, you pass laws to require people to do the things that you like, the things that you believe in, the things that are important to you, and many of those things are going to be built around your own failures, then you can create a society now where once you've repressed them and you still feel terrible about being a big loser, you've now passed laws that make it okay. That you, as a failure, as a loser, right? It's okay because the law says you're a winner now, right? And the government says you're a winner now, and you don't. If you're an alcoholic like Pete Hegseth, you don't have to get yourself sober because the laws will suggest that as an alcoholic you can become, the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense. If you're, severely mentally ill like Donald Trump, you don't have to get help. You don't have to get medicated because you can become president of the United States, right? If you're just a rotten scoundrel, a lazy lawyer scoundrel like Pam Bondi or Todd Blanche, you don't have to get better at your job. Because if we can pass rules and legislation that are beneficial for rotten scoundrels to be leaders and lawyers, the highest legal authorities in the land, criminals to be the chief law enforcement officers, then you can continue to grift and be a criminal. You don't have to reform yourself. So I think that's in my humble opinion, for whatever it's worth, I think that's the psychology behind all of this. Or a pedophile. Exactly, Gail. 100%. Let's normalize sexually abusing young girls, which is they're having a hard time doing, but that's what they want to do. Speaking of that, that's an excellent time to segue into where is my piece on this? Hang on, let me go back here. Let me just kind of pull this up this way. I don't think I saved this. Let's go to C-SPAN. Let's check and see if we get House Oversight Committee Democrats on virtual deposition. Let's see what's happening with that. If you're not familiar with what happened today, Ghislaine Maxwell testified before the House Oversight Committee via a video link from jail, from her cushy prison, and she said she would plead the fifth. Let's hear what House Democrats are telling us. It's going to take a moment. There'll probably be a commercial first. Yep. So we have Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I'm not sure who else is coming to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster. She facilitated, aided, and abetted Epstein's crimes, engaged in those crimes. She was the enforcer who threatened the victims and the survivors of those crimes. And today we looked into the eyes of that monster in the deposition. What we did not get were any substantive answers to the questions that were asked that would advance our investigation, to help us learn who were the other men involved in these crimes, to help us learn who were the others who knew about these crimes, to help us learn what exactly was said between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell that led her to be
By the way, guys, this is complete speculation. I'm going to kind of bounce in and out as they're talking. This is complete speculation on this. It is not news. It is just what I think. I absolutely think that the White House and the Oversight Committee, or the DOJ, Todd Blanche, and our chief Smurf Oversight Committee Chair Jim Comer, I absolutely think they coordinated indirectly with Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, and the whole time they always knew she was going to plead the fifth. I'm positive of it, but that's just opinion and not fact.
Transferred to a minimum security prison. What we did get was another episode in her long-running campaign for clemency from President Trump. And President Trump could end that today. He could rule out clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster. He could rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster. The question for all of us today is, why hasn't he done that, and why won't he?
Sorry, guys.
Is there a conspiracy of silence?
I'm going to turn it over to my colleague from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Suha Subramanian.
Thank you. Just to reiterate, Ghislaine Maxwell should have no hope of ever getting out of prison. But today, she, through her lawyer, explicitly stated that she wants to be out of prison through a clemency that this president would grant. And she's campaigning over and over again to get that pardon from President Trump. And this president has not ruled it out. And so that is why she's continuing to not cooperate with our investigation. The reality is she is a monster. She should be behind bars. She should stay there. She should answer our questions, but she is not willing to do so because she is looking for that pardon and looking to absolve any people related to this administration. So we will continue to call for this president to completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm going to hand it over now to the representative from Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. Listen, as an attorney, I was wondering exactly where all we were going with her planning to invoke the Fifth Amendment. You know, Fifth Amendment is about self-incrimination. We all know that she has been finally convicted. She has exhausted all of her appeals. But they've decided to file a writ of habeas corpus. In my opinion, they have filed this writ of habeas corpus just to use it as an excuse to not answer more questions because, again, we know that she's a monster. We know that a jury was able to listen to all of the evidence and find that she should be found guilty. And even Donald Trump's Supreme Court, which that is saying a lot, even his Supreme Court has decided to affirm every single thing that took place on the trial level. So the fact that this woman is continuing to invoke the Fifth Amendment tells us exactly what my colleagues have already stated. She is a monster. She does not care. She has no remorse.
No.
She is not seeking to bring about some kind of closure for these women. She doesn't care. And frankly, it seems like this administration overall does not care. All they care about is protecting the powerful and protecting pedophiles. They will do anything to distract from that, including deciding to put up in the middle of Black History Month the most racist thing that we've ever seen come out of a White House. But I am here to tell you that House Democrats, specifically on the Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee, as we do have Pam Bondi coming before us here in a minute, we will not be deterred. We will not be distracted. We know who it is that needs to be held accountable, and we will go in and we will make sure that we continue to dig. This will not stop us because his co-conspirator decided that she was going to try to play games with us this morning. I got news for you, Ms. Maxwell. We're not done. we're going to continue to go. And it is my hope that this court resolves this sham of I don't even know what to call it, this scam of a maneuver that she has filed in court. That is what we will call it. We hope that that is resolved quickly and we can bring her on back, since we're not physically moving her. She's still in her cushy jail cell down in Texas. We will bring her back so that she can answer questions and hopefully finally start to answer questions truthfully. And now I'm going to pass it over to my good friend out of New Mexico, Ms. Stansberry.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It is Monday, February 9th. We are just walking out of the deposition with Ghislaine Maxwell after the House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Ms. Maxwell to speak to the committee in our ongoing bipartisan investigation into the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and to hold those accountable who have not yet been investigated and convicted of those crimes. As was evidenced this morning, Ghislaine Maxwell did not provide information to the committee and instead invoked her blanket Fifth Amendment rights. While we are not able to speak to the specifics of what was said within the deposition until the deposition record is made public, it is very clear that she used this opportunity to not only campaign for clemency as she has been doing, but also to send a direct message that she is hoping that people who were sitting in the deposition will transmit to the President of the United States, which is that her silence can be bought through clemency. It is very clear that that is the message that she...
So if I'm understanding what they can tell us, because we have to read between the lines because they can't tell us everything, because it was a closed door deposition, is that basically Maxwell used the deposition as an opportunity to ask for clemency, basically make her clemency case to Jim Comer and the rest of the Republicans on the committee, knowing full well that they will then go back to Trump. And I can't help but think that, again, like I was saying before, I can't help but think that this is all coordinated, that that this was all intentional, it was all coordinated with the White House, with House Republicans were certainly Jim Comer, I'm sure, was aware of exactly what was doing, what he was going to do. I'm sure her clemency request. So it would look like, it's going to look like there's this. The goal is to be able to give her a pardon so that she continues to say that Trump was amazing. He's such a beautiful man. He was always so nice to me. Never had a problem with him. He did nothing wrong. He never did anything wrong. That, and somehow it seems like the plan is to create that effectively enough that they can sell that. They can get enough, at least enough people within the MAGA community to buy into it so that they think they can effectively sell it. That's so Patty Ann, you're with me on that. The problem they have is, MAGA isn't buying it. We're certainly not buying it. The Epstein files they release tell a different story, a clearly different story. And we know if the files they release tell a different story than the files that have not been released yet are far, far more damning for Donald Trump and the scumbags that are surrounding him. The Clintons have already kind of twisted Comer's arm a little bit and called him out. They're ready to do a public hearing. Comer is not going for that, and he's got a problem now. The Clintons are a big problem for him now. The Epstein files are a big problem for him. And the bullshit that they're selling through, say, this clemency hearing, which is in essence what it was, is a big problem for him.
Trying to send directly to Donald Trump himself. Directly. She is telling Donald Trump through her deposition that she is trying to buy her clemency. Now, she did state that she is taking and invoking her Fifth Amendment rights because of a pending habeas petition before the Southern District of New York. But let us be clear. Her case appeals have already gone to the United States Supreme Court, and they have been denied. She is not being released from jail unless, of course, Donald Trump buys what she's selling. So we want to be clear that she is exactly where she's supposed to be in terms of her conviction, and she needs to go back to the prison where she belongs. Now, we have a lot of questions for Ms. Maxwell with regards to what actually happened in Epstein's affairs, who was directly involved in the sex trafficking, money laundering, and influence peddling scheme that she and Jeffrey Epstein were involved in, how Donald Trump was involved and whether or not he committed any crimes himself, as did his many associates who are named in the Department of Justice files. Let us be clear that Donald Trump is not only named thousands of times in the latest release from the Department of Justice, he is named over 38,000 times in the files that were released 2 weeks ago alone. And we know that that only represents half of the files that the Department of Justice has in its possession, including files that were used for direct investigations of perpetrators, people who committed crimes, people who were co-conspirators in those crimes, and individuals who knew of those crimes. We know that there are multiple administration officials, including Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, who served as the appointee for the DOJ efforts in the White House. We know that
Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie called on Lutnick to be fired over the weekend.
We know that there are more than 36 associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Donald Trump named in those files.
If you're not familiar with if you haven't been watching all the reporting about the files, Lutnick basically said that, I haven't talked to Donald. That's too Trumpian, not Lutnick. I haven't talked to Donald Trump in a long time, or to Epstein in a long time. After all, my wife and I, we went over there one time. We saw what a scumbag he is. What a I said, how many things do you need? What a scumbag. We got out of there. I said to my wife, we'll never go in there again. I never saw him again except the Epstein files. Howard, you fucking hung out with him for 5 years after that. Howie, you've probably been to the island, Howie. He had a fucking company. He was a partner with Epstein. The files have released. That's what she's referring to. Just thought I would share.
Now, there are now at least 9 or 10 other countries across the world that have opened investigations or forced their leaders to step down because of their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. And the United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the Fifth to buy her clemency. So let's be clear on what we saw here today. This was an effort to essentially try to secure her pardon by keeping her mouth shut. And we will not allow this silence to stand. It was announced.
I just want to show you two more things. I was going to go over some other things, guys, but I think this is important enough. Let's just see what Ro Khanna had to say about the deposition.
My name is Dr. Eric Rubenfeld. I've been an optometrist.
It'll just take a moment. I just want to hear
several things make our
what Khanna's got to say. Melanie Shrewsbury is one of the few fighting Democrats. Maximum respect for her. I agree with you 1,000%. 1,000%.
We'll be there at around 3 o'clock. Okay. 3 o'clock. There you go. I got it. I'll pass that on.
Oh, so it doesn't look like Khanna had.
Yeah, really quickly. Can we ask you what questions you have? Don't actually, and she'll answer them.
I submitted to Comer a letter with 6 or 7 questions. Things like, who were the other
I think this is before
who were the other
deposition.
men who raped these underage girls? Did she have any conversations about a deal with Donald Trump? Now, she's taken a blanket Fifth Amendment on any question And my view is that many of my questions don't in any way incriminate her. So we'll see what she does. But there's 7 questions that I have specifically asked.
All right. So that was the that was before. I actually saw that earlier. I just wanted to confirm. That was Ro Khanna before the deposition. Let me just head back to C-SPAN. I just want to see if there's anything. Let's see what Comer says. Not that it's like worth listening to him, but let's see. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Las escuelas públicas de la ciudad de Nueva York hablan su idioma. ¿Sabía que las familias de la ciudad de Nueva York...
Now, wait. As Comer's walking up, it's important to me. It's important to me, guys, and I think it's important to you guys that we bring him up appropriately because remember, I have determined, just me personally, and I have sources in Smurf land, that he was a Smurf. He is a Smurf. He just happens to be a white Smurf, a white tall Smurf, and he was discriminated against in Smurfville. And because of that, that's why he's such an angry human, because he's really just, a discriminated Smurf, and that's now discriminating against everyone else. So let's bring him up with the Smurf song.
Sing a happy song. La 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 la, Smurf the whole day long. Smurf along with me. Simple as can be. Next time revealing blue, just let a smile begin. Happy things will come to you.
So Smurf yourself a grin.
Ooh, I hate Smurfs. I'll get you. I'll get all of you if it's the last thing I
One more, guys. One more, and then we'll be done.
La 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 la. Now you know the tune. You'll be Smurfing soon.
Questions. This obviously is very disappointing. We had many questions to ask about the crimes she and Epstein committed, as well as questions about potential co-conspirators. We sincerely want to get to the truth of the American people and justice for the survivors. That's what this investigation is about. I want to mention the next steps. We can confirm we have 5 more depositions in the book scheduled for the Epstein investigation. On February 18th, Lex Wexner, who is a financial client of Epstein and I believe the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. February 26th, we have former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. February 27th, former President Bill Clinton. March 11th, Richard Kahn, Epstein's accountant. And March 19th, Darren Endike, Epstein's lawyer. So we will continue to move forward and try to get answers for the American people.
So, do you think Britain's royal family? Do you think that Britain's royal family has questions to answer to your committee?
Well, we would love to hear, from anyone. Obviously, I can't subpoena in foreign countries, or I would have done that in the Biden investigation. But do you have anything to add, Andy?
Andy Biggs,
I'll just add
our white nationalist congressman, one of the originals.
The attorney for Ms. Maxwell said that she has no indication and would say that neither Presidents Trump or Clinton are culpable for any wrongdoing. And that's one thing they said in his opening statement to us today.
But isn't it clear that was Ghislaine Maxwell put under pressure to stay silent? Was Ghislaine Maxwell put under pressure to stay silent today?
Well, I have no idea.
Is that your suspicion?
How would I have no idea. I mean, she was given an opportunity. We would have brought her in months ago, but she's indicated she was going to plead the fifth. And unfortunately, she had an opportunity today to answer questions that every American has, questions that would be very important in this investigation, and she chose to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights.
Mr. Chairman, can you clarify what her lawyer said about President Trump and Clinton? And do you think that there's anything more to do with Ghislaine Maxwell now that she pled the fifth?
You correct me if I'm wrong. Just to be clear, what her attorney said, Maxwell didn't say. Her attorney said that she would answer questions if she were granted clemency.
Uh-oh, guys. Are you still with me? It looks like something weird happened on here on Substack. Let me see if I'm still connected. Looks like we're still connected. Hang on. Let me see what's going on here. That is inconvenient. Let me check and see if you guys are still here. Everyone, are you still with me? Looks like Substack might have glitched out. Are you guys still with me by any chance? All right, guys, I'm sorry about that. It looked like there was I don't know if you saw it on your end. I was able to see it on my end. It looks like there was a little bit of a Substack glitch. TikTok, are you guys still here? Not TikTok, I'm sorry. YouTube. Looks like YouTube's still here. That's okay. Oh, you're still here, Gail? Okay. Did you guys get a weird glitch where you got just a black screen? Okay, you guys are back. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think maybe Substack had enough of Comer. Maybe the algorithm got fed up with Comer as well, or it might have been some. Maybe there was some. Oh, you know what I think it might be. Oh, I might be connected through I'm connected through Wi-Fi. That's the problem. I don't know why I'm not wired in, so it was probably a glitch. I don't know why somebody, either my son or I, turned the Wi-Fi on this computer, and it must have sort of disconnected us from instead of having my wired connection to my router, and I think that might have been a glitch on my end because I shouldn't go. I have to remember to turn the Wi-Fi off when I'm doing this. All right, guys, it's 12:20. That just kind of is what it is, right? There's nothing else we can do with it. Let me just go to here. Give you a quick update. Democrats won another special election in Fungal. Let me see where it is. Hang on, let me find this. The first special elections of 2026 were encouraging for Democrats. 2 Democratic nominees won lopsided victories in 2 special elections in Minnesota, restoring the House to an even partisan split. The second one came soon after in Texas, where Republicans invested a considerable amount of resources to keep a state Senate seat in the suburbs of Fort Worth. They failed. Democrat Taylor Reinhardt, a union leader and Air Force vet, won a double-digit victory. Louisiana state legislative special election, however, was supposed to be a very different contest. The Democratic state representative gave his seat to become a commissioner of the state Office of Alcohol, Tobacco contest. The Democratic state representative, blah, blah, blah. To do something the party hasn't done, flip a seat from blue to red. That didn't happen. That's the point. The point here is that at first blush, this might not seem especially notable since a Democratic candidate won a special election to replace a former Democratic legislator, but this matters because Trump carried the district by 13 points. So it's just another, Democrat won in a district that Trump had carried in 2024 in Louisiana by 13 points. The Republicans were hoping, because Trump carried it by 13 points, that they would be able to win the seat, flip the seat in a special election. They couldn't. The Democrat won by 24 points. More overperformance and underperformance by Republicans. So I just thought I would share that with you. All right, guys, I wanted to share a few updates with you about DHS funding. Nothing's happening, by the way, so you're not missing anything. But I've got to hold off on that for now because we've got our daily briefing in just 10 minutes, and I got to prep for it. But I want to let you know, tentatively right now, Thursday, I've got a gentleman that might be joining me live. He's a expert in surveillance, in the surveillance state. He was a former reporter. You might have seen him. He was on Ali Velshi a couple of days ago. We're just kind of confirming if he can come or not. But there's been a lot of confusion, I felt, about what ICE is doing with Plantier and or Planeteer and how that might affect us. So I'm going to share that with you. Hopefully, we're going to be able to kind of nail down our Thursday meeting, and I'll confirm that with you. It looks like we glitched out again. Oh no. Sorry, guys. Substack. All right, guys. Let me just, all right, guys, I'm so sorry. It looks like we've kind of glitched out again. I think YouTube, you guys are okay. It looks like we've lost Substack completely. Apologies to Substack, even though you're not here. YouTube folks, thank you for being here. And I still apologize, YouTube folks. I have not been able to bring my YouTube feed into the live yet, so I can't see who's here, but I'm working on that. Anyway, I do have to wrap it, guys, because I do have a daily briefing with the course community in about 6 minutes. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 11:15 a.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for being here. If your friends missed this, this will be posted in just about an hour. Be well, everybody. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one live at a time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.